Maria and welcome to SG Global News. From the Holy Father's personal call to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu urging an end to the war in Gaza to a new feature film on the life of Saint Maximilian Kolbe that inspires us to live with Christian hope, we have many stories to cover. Pope Leo has personally appealed to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza. The phone call, made from Pope's summer residence in Castel Gandolfo, came just a day after an Israeli tank strike hit Gaza's Holy Catholic Church, killing 3 and injuring several. In the conversation, the Pope reiterated his call for a ceasefire and expressed grave concern over the worsening humanitarian crisis.
On Friday, July 18th, a day after Israel's attack on the Holy Family Parish in Gaza, Pope Leo XIV spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a phone call from his residence at Castel Gandolfo. During the conversation, the Pope reiterated his appeal for an end to the war. On Thursday, July 17th, an Israeli tank strike hit the Holy Family Church, the only Catholic church in the Gaza Strip, killing 3 people and injuring several others. The church and its compound had been sheltering over 600 displaced Palestinian Christians, serving as both a refuge and a source of comfort to others in the area. In the telephonic conversation, the Holy Father urged Prime Minister Netanyahu to begin negotiations and called for a ceasefire. He also voiced deep concern over the worsening humanitarian crisis in Gaza, noting that children, the elderly, and the sick are bearing the brunt of the suffering. Additionally, the Pope emphasized the need to protect places of worship, the faithful, and all civilians in both Palestine and Israel. This was not the first time the Holy Family Church came under fire. In December 2023, Israeli sniper fire killed 2 women, a mother and her daughter, as they walked inside the church compound. In light of the second attack, the Pope also reached out to Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, to express his spiritual solidarity with the people of Gaza. He reaffirmed his desire to do everything possible to help bring an end to the ongoing tragedy.
Following a devastating fire at a shopping center in Iraq that claimed dozens of lives, Pope Leo XIV has extended his condolences and prayers to the victims and their families. In a telegram signed by Cardinal Secretary of State, the Holy Father expressed his deep spiritual solidarity with those affected by the tragedy, offering prayers for the deceased and comfort to the grieving. Pope Leo XIV has expressed his spiritual solidarity with the victims of a devastating shopping center fire in Iraq, offering closeness to those injured and to the families mourning their loved ones. In a telegram signed by Cardinal Secretary of State Pietro Parolin, the Holy Father entrusts the souls of the deceased to the merciful care of the Almighty and prays for the emergency workers who continue to aid the affected while invoking divine blessings of strength, comfort, and peace for all involved. At least 69 people lost their lives when a fire erupted at a newly opened shopping center in Kut Wasit province, eastern Iraq. 11 individuals remain missing. The mall, which had been opened just 5 days, housed a hypermarket and a restaurant where shoppers and diners were present at the time of the blaze. Civil defense teams managed to rescue 45 people trapped inside. Wasit's governor described the incident as a tragedy and a calamity and declared 3 days of mourning. Authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the fire, promising results within 48 hours. Meanwhile, lawsuits have been filed against the building and mall owners. A historic church in Bellingham is at risk of closing its doors. St. Cuthbert's Church, which has stood for more than 1,000 years, faces potential closure due to financial strain. Although the diocese invited the Friends group, they did not attend, according to reports. Supporters warned that the closure would have a profound impact on the local community and erase a treasured spiritual landmark.
The Diocese of Durham is currently considering a proposal to end regular worship at St. Cuthbert's Church in Bellingham, one of the region's oldest places of worship. A decision from the Bishops' Council is due on July the 21st, as reported by the Northern Echo. The Parochial Church Council advised discontinuation of services, citing financial strain and maintenance issues. In response, members of the Friends of St. Cuthbert's Church, Bellingham Green, a local preservation group, expressed concern about the potential loss. Secretary Charles Wellington described the worship place as a lasting symbol of community pride and heritage, warning that its closure would cause significant harm to Bellingham. A diocesan spokesperson confirmed that a meeting took place on July the 14th involving parish representatives and church commissioners to discuss the PCC's proposal. Although the diocese invited the Friends group, they did not attend, according to reports. A sourceperson stated that they can participate if the Bishop's Council opens a consultation, as also reported by Premier Christian News. The historic church remains open as the community awaits a final decision.
U.S. envoy to Syria Tom Barrack announces the passing of ceasefire between the warring sides Israel and Syria. This ceasefire may halt Israeli operation intended to protect Druze community from persecution.
A major diplomatic row appears to be brewing between the United States and Israel, following leaked correspondence between U.S. Ambassador to Israel Michael Huckabee and Israel's Interior Minister Moshe Arbil. According to Israeli media reports, Ambassador Huckabee expressed strong dissatisfaction over what he called unfair treatment of American evangelization workers by Israeli authorities. In a leaked letter, Huckabee criticized Israel's Interior Ministry for rejecting tourist visa applications from evangelical and missionary workers without clear justification. The ambassador reportedly warned that if the situation persists, the U.S. Embassy may consider taking reciprocal action, potentially tightening visa rules for Israeli tourists seeking entry into the United States. Huckabee further argued that it is unjust to deny Christian missionary workers the opportunity to visit biblical holy sites in Israel, especially given the long-standing support many evangelical groups have shown toward the country. He also raised concerns over recent investigations launched by Israel's Interior Ministry into Christian organizations with decades-long ties to Israel, including the Baptist Conference in Israel and the Christian Missionary Alliance. These groups, according to Huckabee, were subjected to extensive questioning and have yet to receive updated visas for their religious leaders. The dispute is seen as particularly sensitive as evangelical Christians have historically been staunch supporters of Israel, both politically and financially. Israeli officials have not yet formally responded to the leak, but the controversy is already drawing attention from both international observers and domestic political figures.
A new diplomatic tension arises between U.S. and Israel as U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee accuses of Israel denying visas for evangelization workers from U.S. The row is heating up as Huckabee threatens reciprocal measures against Israel.
Following a successful intervention to protect the Druze community in Syria, Israeli officials have agreed to temporarily halt military operations against Syrian government forces. This significant development comes after multiple rounds of negotiations between Syrian officials and representatives from Israel's Ministry of Defense, mediated by U.S. envoy to Syria Tom Barrack. In a statement posted on the social media platform X, Barrack announced that the new ceasefire agreement between Israel and Syria has been endorsed by regional powers, including Turkey, Jordan, and other neighboring countries. He also called on the Bedouin tribe, aligned with jihadist forces, to lay down their arms and contribute to building a new and united Syrian identity rooted in peace and prosperity with its neighbors. The clashes began last week and escalated sharply on Monday, when the Bedouin tribe, supported by Islamist fighters, launched violent attacks on Druze villages in Syria's Sveda province. Humanitarian organizations and war monitors estimate that approximately 1,000 Druze civilians were killed during the assault. Israel, which is home to a substantial Druze population, responded swiftly. On Wednesday, the Israeli Air Force launched retaliatory strikes, targeting a Syrian Defense Force facility and several known terrorist hideouts in southern Syria.
A federal court in Washington has temporarily blocked a controversial new law that would have required Catholic priests to break the seal of confession to report child abuse. The law, set to take effect on July 27th, was challenged by 3 Catholic bishops who argued that it violated religious freedom. The judge agreed, granting a preliminary injunction and marking a significant legal victory for the clergy.
A federal court in Washington on Friday granted a preliminary injunction blocking the enforcement of a new state law that would have required clergy to violate the seal of confession to report suspected cases of child abuse or neglect. Senate Bill 5375, signed into law by Governor Robert Ferguson, a Catholic, added clergy to the list of mandatory reporters of child abuse. The law also eliminated the clergy penitent privilege for confessions while retaining similar confidentiality protections for other professions, such as attorneys. It was scheduled to take effect on July 27th and would have allowed for gross misdemeanor charges against clergy who failed to comply. The lawsuit challenging the law was filed by Archbishop Paul D. Etienne of the Archdiocese of Seattle, Bishop Joseph J. Tyson of the Diocese of Yakima, and Bishop Thomas A. Daly of the Diocese of Spokane. The suit names Governor Ferguson, Washington Attorney General Nicholas Brown, and more than 36 county prosecutors as defendants. In his ruling, U.S. District Judge David G. Estudillo held that the law placed an undue burden on the free exercise of religion. He further criticized the legislation for singling out clergy while permitting other professionals to maintain confidentiality. Mark Rienzi, President and CEO of Beckett, a religious liberty law firm representing the clergy alongside Wilma Hale and First Liberty Institute, welcomed the ruling. This decision confirms what has always been true. In America, government officials have no business prying into the confessional, he said.
As part of the lead up to the 500th anniversary of the apparition of Our Lady of Guadalupe in 2031, a national initiative has been launched to bring the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe to every diocese in Mexico. This will take place through the pilgrimage of a replica of the Holy Tilma of Saint Juan Diego. In preparation of the 500th anniversary of the apparition of Our Lady of Guadalupe in 2031, an initiative was launched to bring the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe to all the Mexican dioceses through the pilgrimage of a replica of the Holy Tilma of Saint Juan Diego. Eva Sanchez, Executive Secretary of the Intercontinental Guadalupana Novena, shared that the proposal One Tilma, One Heart is part of the pastoral plan of 2028. She added that the project's objective is to articulate Guadalupana devotion in Mexico with a view to the country's unity and peace. The initiative fosters a deep spiritual renewal under the protection of Our Lady of Guadalupe so that each community that welcomes the Tilma may become a sacred home. Sanchez explained that the tour begins in each diocese and includes visit to churches, parishes, shrines, and basilicas. She emphasized that the goal is to invite everyone to open the doors of both our communities and our hearts so they may encounter the maternal tenderness of Mary. She also noted that the liturgical materials have been distributed to accompany the enthronement and each church adapts the dynamic to its own circumstances. The project also promotes collaboration between dioceses and includes the organization of Guadalupe conferences, diploma courses, catechesis programs, and other training activities. activities. According to the executive secretary, what makes the pilgrimage distinctive is the involvement of Vitus, the people responsible for accompanying the replica throughout its journey. They will listen to the needs of people, facilitate the encounter between the Virgin and people, and promote concrete actions to rebuild the social fabric. Among the anticipated outcomes of this experience are a renewed Christ-centered faith nurtured through Marian devotion, the revitalization of communities guided by a synodal spirit, and the strengthening of the network of Marian shrines as places of welcome and hope. On a social level, the initiative seeks to promote reconciliation and peace in areas affected by violence and division. It also encourages a spirit of solidarity through social engagement and support the preservation and celebration of Mexican and Latin American cultural identity. A new feature film written and directed by Anthony D'Ambrosio tells a powerful story of Saint Maximilian Kolbe and his companions' triumph over the darkness of Auschwitz. Titled Triumph of the Heart, the film is set to be released on September 12, 2025. The film follows Kolbe as he enters the starvation bunker alongside 9 condemned men seeking to transform their shared suffering into a profound brotherhood of hope. A new feature film about Saint Maximilian Kolbe and his companions' triumph over the darkness of Auschwitz will be released on September 12, 2025. Written and directed by Anthony D'Ambrosio, the film is titled Triumph of the Heart. Saint Maximilian Kolbe was a Polish conventual Franciscan friar, priest, missionary, and martyr. He volunteered to die in place of a man in the German death camp of Auschwitz, located in the German-occupied Poland during World War II. The film director, Anthony, was a good Catholic and even went to seminary, but left when he fell in love. But before he got engaged, he got sick, an undiagnosed medical condition that ruined everything for him. As the darkness closed in, he lost faith, but then he remembered Kolbe. In the official website of the movie, Anthony shared, "Kolbe's story gave me a way forward, and this film is my way of sharing that light with the world. In an age that runs from pain and avoids the cost of love, Kolbe shows us another way. He is a saint of our time, and his story is one we all need to hear." While most stories of Saint Maximilian Kolbe end with his selfless act at Auschwitz, but Triumph of Heart begins there. In the movie, Kolbe joins 9 condemned men in the starvation bunker, striving to transform their suffering and despair into a brotherhood of hope. When confronted with the horrors of an apocalyptic war, Kolbe revealed something even more profound, that Christian love has the power to overcome humanity's darkest trials. Amid unimaginable suffering, he did not back away. Instead, he stepped forward, willingly giving his life to save another. Kolbe's story is a source of hope for those without it. The film's message is also powerful for those who live with Christian hope, especially in showing how he grew in holiness over time. That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.